Hey guys, how you doing? How's everything going? Let's do it to it. Well, oops, I gotta. We'll pull a game here. Let's do a 10-minute. There we go. Okay, so we're actually now, guys. Our thing is we're entering into the London system versus the King's Indian. So we're gonna be doing that after this game here. It's probably gonna go there. Oh. I'm gonna see if I can't get my bishop going. Okay, we'll do the London system now. That was a good game. Okay. This is a game between Spassky as white and Budkic as black. Bug Oh Jung, 1978. I don't know how to pronounce the city's name. It's Bujgojno. That's where it was played. Okay, let us continue. Okay, knight f6. This is the king's Indian, not queen's Indian. F. E3. Castles. Bishop D. D6. Castles. Knight B. D7. Now there is a line that you can go after the bishop with knight to H5. Bishop G. H6. Bishop H. G5. And knight FD2. And G takes. And knight takes. And at this point, there's two lines that arise out of this here. There's a line A, which is A5, which is actually a mistake. This line is a mistake here because it is a strategic error after D takes E, D takes E, E5, exclam. Not allowing black to roll the F pawn to F5. E4 stops F5 from even happening. So it's a really cementing position. It also allows for us to later potentially outpost a knight on F5. So instead of instead of E5, what our opponent should play is F5, exclam. Because black should play F5, but after either knight to F4, this is what was played for white, F4, E5, and then C3. This is what he says. I prefer white in this strange stonewall setup. The struggle is on H4. So black has a straggler on H4 that can later be targeted. And he also has the potential king to H1, rook F to G1, and then opening up the G file for the king, for the rook. I mean, those are kind of the two benefits that white has. Black's really kind of weakened himself pretty good, so he's in a little bit of a pickle here. Okay, so we will continue on in our line. That's what should have been played. That's what could have been played after knight H5. This is what was played in the game. Knight BD to 7, H3, Queen G8, and then C4. White hurries to expand on the queen side. That's what Spassky did, was expand on the queen side. There's later lines that we'll talk about that he says. There's later lines that we'll talk about in the chapter. Hey, how you doing? And so that's kind of the idea that what we're going to play is C. No, I'm good. Thank you very much. I'm okay. We're right in the middle of this. Let me see here. So c4, yeah. Okay, so this is kind of one of the lines. Spassky played this. c3 is another one. Okay, so e5 was played by Spassky's opponent. Spassky played bishop to h2. He didn't want to trade off and help, with black's, center. He's just retreating back, and if black wants to take, white will be more than happy to either take with the pawn or the knight. So it's beneficial for black not to trade. So the queen went to e7, knight c3, e4 is what was played. There's also a very common setup for black is rook to e8. We'll see this in later games. This is a kind of the author says we'll see this type of setup in a later game. It makes it so that when takes happens, you can't take. E takes d4. E takes d4. You would it kind of not be beneficial for white because you'd have this hammer of an attack. Yes, it's protected by e2, but I don't know. I just feel a little uncomfortable allowing this to come to pass. So e4, knight d2, and then what's going to happen is rook e8, and this is kind of it's a natural move, but a little too late. He shouldn't have played that at this moment. He should have done it a couple moves before. Because this is a very natural idea. Instead of knight rook to e8, would have been c6, and then b5. c6 first, then b5, kind of to stop white's advance on the queen side. So here and there. Yeah. Alrighty, so we'll continue onward. That's what should have been played but wasn't. Rook to e8 was. Knight b5 is much. There's also a line that much stronger. There's a much stronger line, but this is also a good one. Knight to b5. White could play actually b5 at this point with the pawn, and then after or b4, not b5, b4. And at this point, when the knight retreats back to f8, the queen can actually go to c2 to take scope on this pawn 3 times. The e pawn's becoming very vulnerable, and potentially will be lost. So that's kind of, and it was actually a game that was played, so that this was a setup and it favored white. So let's see here. So back to b5, queen to d8. There's also a better line rather than queen to d8. There's knight to f8. And then c5 this actually is better for white in this line. It gives him an exclam. What you're doing is you're tearing open the queen side for your expansion. So what would happen? c5, rook d8 would actually be, because you want to put your rook on the same file as the queen. So that's the whole point in this. So what we do is rook to c1, so that when pawn takes, rook takes is playable, rather than just pawn takes. So we have a rook in the fight. And so the knight goes back to e. White enjoys some basically advantages. He has 4 advantages here. He can lever open the c file whenever he wants, which he could take here if need be. And then if the knight takes back, pawn takes, queen takes, we then can have this half open file for us. So that's one perk. Number 2, black's pieces are forced to full retreat. If you notice, they're all in the back rank, almost all of them except for the bishop on g7. 3, there's little damage to white's king side. Black has pushed the g pawn and also the e pawn further up the board than white has. Number 4 is white has targets on d6 and a potential target on c7 and a potential target on e4. So he's got these 3 targets that white can later take scope on. So okay, now let's get back to the game. What was actually played. Queen to d8. Okay, c5 exclam with the idea of let me see. This leads to a powerful piece sacrifice, and we'll show you. Spassky sets up a6, which looks like, wow, you're gonna move the knight, right? Don't think so. C takes, a takes, a takes, and then queen has to move, because of course you see why. These 2 points are intact with each other, and this is a really painful setup that black is like sad. It wants to, the queen wants to take, but if it does, of course you can see, boom, and it's all over. So the queen has to beat a retreat, as they would say, and then the bishop comes smashing in. Bishop takes, b5. White has 3 healthy pawns for and a c7 pawn, which chokes white's position down. Or ties white's position down, so that he will not be able to move very well on the queen side, therefore allowing black to have free reign on the king side for a king side attack if need be. This pawn has to be watched because it's 1 square away from queening. Bishop to f8, knight to c4, and the D, this is what it says, the D and B pawns are really nice. These 2 pawns will be able to help support b6 and potentially d6. So it's all about white getting these pawns to their allies' protection. So e7 attacks the knight, and so he's just moving in. There we go. Excuse me. And the knight e8, and then queen goes to c3. This idea is, well, what we're potentially going to try to do is get b4, a4, or a5, b5, and then up the board. Yeah. And I appreciate that. It's a gift the Lord's given me, and so I want to give back to the chess community. Okay, so let's see here. Knight 2, okay. And at this point, he's trying to get to d5. The knight on f6 wants to go to d5. I mean ef6. To kind of, as you guys know, it's called, there's trying to outpost and also blockade the d pawn, because if the b pawn or the d pawn gets, one of them gets to these 2 points here, black's in a world of hurt, because this pawn then is protected by a pawn, not by a piece, and it's going to be nothing but pain the rest of the game if that's allotted. So this knight's going to try to, as they say, trade places with the queen, so that it's the queen's not barricading it, because that's a sad queen having to stay on d5 just to watch the d4 pawn. Ooh. You don't want that. You want her in the action, so you gotta kind of give her some relief, and that's what knight e to knight e f6 is trying to say. Queen, don't worry, I'm coming to your rescue. So e5 was played, and he can't really take, because if he does, the bishop then would outpost. Like something like this would happen. It'd be like, uh-oh, what nightmare did I just awaken? What, it's like this bishop's just going, thank you very much. You did get my knight, but guess what? Our sniper's ready and willing. Now the king can't move, and all we need to do is check, and we got the king. So gotta be careful when you start trading pieces. Okay, knight to b6, c4, because we're trying to get pieces traded off the board, because then this becomes a lot more powerful, because it frees up the d and b pawn to have support on the c pawn. So the more pieces we can remove, the more these soldiers have a chance of going straight up the board. So that's why white's not afraid of trading down. It helps him out in the end. So the knight's like, they're like, I'm not gonna trade down. You trade me first, and then white's like, no, you trade me. They're arguing. You trade me. And it's like I don't think so. So white decides to play queen to b4 or b3, which is a really interesting move, because what could be playable is either knight to a5 or knight to d3 to kind of allow a rook to come into the fight for protection, and the queen, there'd be a discovery. So it's like, it looks like the queen's on pre, but she's actually not. She has 2 points of a knight hero to protect her if she does get captured. So rook to f6, bishop takes the knight. Finally the sniper says, you're too powerful, you're in my way, my friend, you need to be removed. And so the knight takes, and then the queen goes b5, and the queen's like, take me, just take me, come on, you could do it. And no, it doesn't happen. If she takes like this, then now we got a pawn that can go up the board. This only helps white, because the pawn can be pushed right up the board to b6 with the support, and then black's in a world of hurt. So b5 was played by there, and knight to queen to f5 is like, I'm not falling for your trap. I'm not gonna just surrender the position and give this to you. So you have to take it. You have to make me take on my terms. I'm not gonna have you take on your terms. But there is, if he does take, like this was actually in the lines of the author from our notes that we wrote down. Okay, A takes B. Okay, rook takes A, of course. Rook takes A. Rook E6. E6 there to protect the pawn. Let's see, rook E6. I gotta check my notes to make sure I'm doing all this right. Oh, perfect. Okay. Now we got a rook on the 8th rank. It's like, oh boy, we don't like that. Not one bit. So rook E, we gotta guard this bishop. It's in trouble. So A5 is now playable. We can take this pawn. and then if the bishop can't, so we could take, if the bishop takes, we grab a rook, so that can't be playable, and it's like, uh-oh. So b6 is playable. Rook b8. Now we're eyeing this pawn twice, the b7 pawn. F5. Knight takes the pawn. Bishop e7. Oh, sorry, bishop e7. There we go. Knight to a5. d5. And b6. And now basically it's game over. White wins here. White has accomplished the goal that he has set out to do. He's got a pawn on b6. So the takes here of the queen, the takes just activates White's plan of getting a pawn to b6. Rather than that, the queen goes to f5 and says, nope, not going to do it, not falling for that trick. So bishop g. And also, it's threatening to win a pawn too, so now White has to slightly react. Knight f, fa6. And now d5 is played. Let's go to my notes and see what we got here. Okay. It says, this is what it says: Spassky remains true to his style and changes his mind, retaining his queen side, which is extremely forceful against black. All of black's pieces basically are on the defense of the queen side. One time, the author says he interviewed Spassky in 1987 for the local newspaper. I asked him what makes a player reach how far he's gone and become the world champion as opposed to very talented other players. Let's see, talented world champion. Hold on, I have to make sure I'm following my notes right. Hold on. A player must stop. This is what he said. A player must stop lying to himself and remain true to his style. The player who do not make it to the very top to get their ego. So basically, you have to get he's saying you have to get your ego out of the equation. Stop lying to yourself, and basically get a play style. Are you an attacker? Are you a positional player? Are you a defense attacker? What are you? And basically hone your skill. He says, in my misspent youth, this is what he says, I would play the King's Gambit as white and the Nimzo as black. The problem was that I was a strong positional player and a bit of a turkey as attack. Basically, he didn't do a lot of tactics, but later on you have to learn tactics. Now I understand that I am not the second coming, he says, of Tall. I followed the advice of the former world champion, and I remained true to my style. He joked and said a chicken, and played for the London. He's just joking. He said that he doesn't like the attacking things. He likes more setting up, building up, squeezing, and then at a certain point, the foundations of your setup break because of how tight they have a rope around you, and eventually you break. And so that's kind of what Spassky's saying is, first of all, let's do a recap on that. You have to be true to yourself, which means what style player are you? Don't lie to yourself. Don't play openings that go against who you are. And by the way, if you don't like tactics that much, play openings that don't have too much tactics. You know what I mean? So you have to remember to keep that up. Now we have a little bit more to go. A little bit more to go. And so you have to keep that in mind. So now we have queen to f6. he actually interviewed the world champion Spassky, so I had to read his interview. That was very informative because he actually, in my opinion, Spassky gave one of the best answers that I've heard from a world champion in what this gentleman wrote in this book. And I was like, wow, that really does help out a lot with what I need to hone down on my skills too. So I hope you guys learned something from this too. Okay? What Spassky says does apply to the heart of a chess player. So h4. And so black's trying to get some counterplay before basically white crushes him under the weight of his own space advantage. And rook to f1. White attempts to play f3 to basically now get a rook involved. So if f3 can get played, pawn takes, and rook takes f3. Now we have a pawn on e3 to e4, and white has two passers, and white will then have the ability to protect the d pawn. And oh boy, if we can get something like that, it's totally over for black. Yikesies, yikesies. g5, f3, he's got it in. AD, now the pawn's protected for the moment being. He takes, and wham, there comes our rook. Smash. Queen to c2, d2 to attack. Queen to e7, or not e7, c3, d6. Now we got our idea, and yes, we finally got d6. Yes, we got one of them. Hurrah! This is a happy day. Spassky's probably he's smiling like, yes, I finally accomplished that. And rook to a8, e4, queen c1 check, f1, queen c3, queen d5. Queen d5, knight f6, rook takes. If rook takes, e5. There's also a line, it doesn't matter even if the queen takes, d7 is playable, and it's basically game over. There is no way to stop. If the bishop takes, of course the queen's going to take, and the c pawn's going to be playable. So it's basically all over but the crying. Okay, we're going to go and go over. There's a summary, and then we'll get into our tactics and start doing our strategies. If black plays, let's go back. Okay, hold on. Where? Okay, if black plays a premature e4 rather than first going e8, if he does that but goes e4, what you want to remember to do is that there is knight b5 and potentially c6. I mean c5. So you want to go knight b5, threatening to win a pawn, and then at the right moment, boom, c5 is coming right up the board, like knight, because you have to move the knight, and then b5, bam. When the queen retreats back, bam, c5. That's kind of what he's talking about. It all started because of e4. It all started because of e4 being played. So just keep that in mind when you see an early e4 on move 10. Keep the idea of you have to retreat back first, then go knight to b5. If the queen retreats, c5, wham. That's the idea. Keep that in mind when you're in that position. The King's Indian. Okay, let's head on into some tactics. Alrighty. Alright, let's see what we got here. Alrighty then. Why did he just take? Oh, he took a pawn. Okay. Let's see here. Boy, this, yeah. Okie dokie. Because I was looking at this. If we play bishop takes bishop, knight takes knight, bishop takes queen, knight takes queen, rook takes, and then rook takes, and we're at an equal position. So, trying to see what could we actually play here though. Boy, this is an interesting position to say the least. I'm thinking, no, that's not going to work. I was thinking queen to e1, but the only problem is we have bishop takes h4, and that falls right on on its face. Snap. What are we missing here? I'm thinking that if we play bishop takes, knight takes, queen to e1, I believe we pick up. I believe we pick up the piece. Let me see. So if we go bishop takes e7, knight takes c3, and queen e1. Thinking that might be the move sequence. Because it protects the rook. Yeah, I'm liking this. Yeah. Let's see, if queen takes d8, knight takes d1, a takes d, a takes, f takes, okay. Yeah. There we go. And if rook comes over, which is kind of my idea here, first you take there, and if rook takes, then you play this rook takes here. And if rook takes here, takes, you're up a whole rook. Otherwise, you're just gonna have to move your knight back. And you have a check. And you get the other rook, and it's basically almost over. Let's see, so a castle queen-sided for white. So let's take scope on. Let's just talk about the position at hand. Okay. The king is basically open to the world on C4, C1 file, the C file. So potentially a rook to a C1 is an interesting idea, or C8, not C1. Well, I still badly want to play knight. I want to play f4, and I want the bishop to. I want the bishop to react back here, so that I could take there, but I can't because this pawn's being attacked here. We're also under a lot of pressure, so it's not like we're out of the woods either. Yeah, it's some tea. This is good tea. Yeah, it's peach green tea. Wow, this is a tough one. Let's go over. I kind of need to think about this for a second. So we'll go over my past game that I just recently played, and then we'll analyze it a little bit. So d4, knight d5, bishop f4, e6, and then he did the Madison attack, or Mason attack. Knight c6, f3, c takes, e takes, and then knight to f6. This has a dual threat of bishop to d6, which is playable here, because once this is played, he has to do something. And now I'm threatening. Takes, takes, queen d, castles. I want to see if e5 is the correct move after here. I want to see if... So I did... Oh, okay, so I did do the right move. This actually is beneficial to me. I think I'm up a hole. Oh, still he's okay. Let's see. And did I play that right? And so the computer's saying knight here. Let's see, what do we want to play? I'm thinking right there. So the bishop retreats back. I'm thinking knight to e6. Let's see if we're right. Yep. King there, and then what do we play? Probably we're going to get our king involved at this point. Let's see if we're right about that. Yep. So knight there. And I get the king involved. That's exactly what I would have played. Knight takes. Probably bishop takes, yeah. King takes. Okay, G. Then now we can get our king in the fight. So that's an interesting game. Now let's get back to our puzzles. Okay. I'm thinking it's something to do with knight to a5. I'm thinking it has something to do with that. Because then what that does is that opens up the C file for our rook. There is a couple ideas. There is a knight. There is a knight takes d set d2. Knight takes d2. If rook takes d2, then we have bishop e4. Queen. We'll say e3. And then knight a5, maybe. Not sure if that's correct. What do you guys think? I'm gonna give you guys a sec to think about it. I'll be right back. I'll be right back. I'm back and ready to roll. Okay, let's see. So knight takes d2, rook takes d2, bishop e4, queen e3, knight a5, if b3, rook to c1, c8, and then b5. Huh. That's an interesting idea. There's also knight a5 right away. Then if bishop takes d5, queen takes d5, knight takes d5, or e4, pawn takes e4, queen e3, and then rook c8, rook a c8. Huh. Is there any way to win material? There potentially is knight takes d4, queen takes d4, bishop takes c4, knight takes e4 with discovering the queen. This is interesting. Boy, this is a tough one. A lot of complications here. I'm going to give it a go. Let's do this one right. Alright, that was kind of a really tough one. I don't know if I would have seen that one. Potentially gonna play rook d2, which threatens a windmill attack here. So the rook's gonna have to come up. Then we may check. So I'm thinking rook d2, rook f2, rook d1, check, rook takes d1, rook takes d1, rook f1, rook takes f1, check, king takes f1, b takes a6. Let's see here. Oops. So here, takes. See, even if we play here, and we play here, and then it comes back, we could take, and if king takes, we then fork the king and the knight, so the rook would have to take, and again we fork that. Yeah. The only problem with bishop b5 that I looked at was he's got knight to b4. And then if I played bishop takes, this is a problem because of that. And then if we try taking, he'll just take there. And then if we take, he'll take, and he'll be up a whole pawn. Yeah, I'm thinking. So I'll show you why this right here, he's got there. And if we take here, he'll take there. And then if we take here, it's equal. So what is his bet? Oh, okay. Oh, hey, a fork. Okay, he's got a fork there. Okay, and so he does get a take. And he is a whole pawn up. So it is drawn then. because if we take, he can drop in. Then we just retreat out. Yeah, it's drawn. So he plays b5. Okay. Wow, on move 10, there's a tactic. Who'd have thunk, huh? Like, I remember what Economy says. Take the material. That's funny. He always does that one thing, and he goes, always take the material. I remember that. He's funny. That's cool though. I like that. So if we did take A takes, so A takes B5. Let's see. What would he take with? There we go. There you go. I like it. I like that. Yes. That's it, Economy. I like it. Yeah. We always take the material, don't we? I like that. I don't see any reason why not to take it. Let's see if we take here, he's gonna have to take there, and we can actually play knight queen back. I think we're fine at that point. He could try that there. Then we just retreat. Then we just retreat there. Yeah, we always take, of course. Okay, I'm thinking potentially maybe queen a6. Nope, my bad. That would be a horrible move. Because then he has that. Ouch. My bad, that's bad. Yeah, queen a6, knight c, yeah. Yikes. That would not be fun. So there's a couple different moves he could play. Actually, I think only one. This was the only move here. Well, I guess we could play here and here. That's an idea. I agree with you on that. Let's see here. I'm trying to see what we could actually acquire here. What do you guys think? Because I'm kind of stumped here. I like c5 because it stops kingside castling. That was good. I like peach tea. That's yummy. What's that? I gotta drink water. Okay. I actually like queen c5. It stops castling. Queen c5 stops the ability of castling. What do you guys think? Because if we go queen c5, you can't castle into check. So just trying to look for the optimum spot. Well, he does have, if we go here, he does have knight to a4. Oh, then we can actually at that point take with the rook, yeah. Let's see here. Yeah, I see that this more likely is the best because stops castling, and then if he plays there, I mean if he plays here, we just grab. What do you guys think? Let's see here. No, we're right. We have to focus on chess. That's the whole purpose of the channel is chess. We're getting there. I think the only difference is with this one it stops c5 stops castling. So I'm thinking that might be the idea behind that. What do you think, Fox? Do you think that it's queen c5? Because he still has the right to castle. See, on this here, we're gonna go back and I'll show you. He hasn't lost the ability to castle. So, all right. So do we agree? Queen c5. That's what I'm voting on. Okay. So we got. What do you think, Fox? Are we an economy? c5. Okay, so we got 3 c5s. What do you think, Fox? c5? Are you going with us? Okay. Let's give her a go. Oh. Why a... Why... Yeah. You gotta be... It liked c5. It liked c5. a5? I don't get that. Go figure. Wow. Wow, wow, wow. That's interesting for sure. Okay, makes sense now. It's a rat. Trying to see if if knight takes, king up, rook e7, king takes, and then queen to D7, but I think he can actually go back there at that point. We have nothing. I'm liking actually rook check, king takes, queen check, king comes over, knight check. I believe we win. Nope, the queen can't come. I was looking at that, Fox. If we took here, he took there, we took here, he has that. He has king to c7 at that point. Yeah, that does threaten mate, doesn't it? Huh. Yeah, knight and rook to d3 does take care of the whole sitch, doesn't it? Because I'm looking to see, is there any way that he can handle not losing? He'd have to play queen takes, rook takes, then queen takes. But we'd be up a whole piece at that point. See, what happens is when the rook comes back, and if you move the bishop, Fox, the queen cuts this off, the queen cuts this off, the rook cuts that off, and so all we need to do is check, and we need just one check right there, and that's the check. Yeah. See, the queen covers this, the rook covers that, and all we need is that. Wham. And it's all over. E5. Huh. E5. That does throw a kink in the works, doesn't it? But I'm not sure that much, because I think if we play back here, E5, knight takes check, the king's going to have to come over. We can actually bring our queen in check. The king can run. Then the queen can check. King runs. Check. Actually, the rook would have to take at that point. Because you can't leave this here. So here, there, there. King runs. Knight takes, take, and then rook comes up and takes. And I believe we're still, we still could be threatening. Yeah, we have check. So he'd have to run. I don't know if we win a piece. The only different change is it's not queen, it's actually rook. That's the only difference. It's not the queen, it's the rook, and it's actually check. I don't know if we win a piece in that line. See if we well, let's see if we play here, right? The bishop comes there, the knight comes in, right? He can move his king over. And then, oops, not knight, there. When the king moves, if we take the bishop. He's going to take back with the pawn. Oh, I guess you're right. We could take with the queen, couldn't we? Oh, yeah. Yeah, you are right. Yeah. So that is the move. Yeah, I see that. Oops, not there. Here. You play there. If it comes over, you can actually play knight takes, pawn takes, rook takes, probably queen there, and then up. Oh, check. Queen has to take the rook, then we take. Okay. takes, f takes, rook takes, king d8, rook. First you gotta take, and that. Wow. Nice find there, guys. That was an excellent find. Great job. I think we could do one or two more, so I know I could do one more. That was a fun one. Oops, I forgot to, hold on, I forgot to grade it and give it a plus. 1 second. Alright. I liked that one. That was a fun one. Do you guys have any games you want to go over? I know you had a game you wanted to go over, Fox Halila game. I promised you we would go over that game. Take the material. Oh, I love it. I love that picture. Yeah, because we could actually block. See, if we grab the material, he pushes there. We actually could block with our knight. And then bishop comes back. Yeah, I think that is the move. Oh, yikes. What's wrong with that? Do you have any games you'd like to go over? Because well, actually we'll just do one more puzzle, and then I got a log. Drat. That's okay. Well, we almost had it. Almost had it. You're funny. Yeah, that always gets me. So here, actually, sorry, there, and then here, and I think we've picked up a piece at that point. Yeah, it's kind of a little like if we take here. Oh, come on, work with me. He's got that. We have this here. If we when we go king h8, if the queen moves, queen move, we play. It's either, I think it's maybe h. I'm not sure which pawn takes. It may be the f pawn, or the h pawn. I'm not sure. The queen has to move. King h8, and this is threatened right here after we move. That with the knight, so okay. Yeah, I think f5 is the seal that seals the yeah. It's forced. We gotta take. Okay, we'll go over this game real quick, and then I got a log after this. So we'll go over this game efficiently. Oops, turn off the engine. Boom. D5. Alright, so they're okay, so I see they're developing, and also this is preparing. Oops, not that. probably rook AD. Oh, bishop comes up. Okay. Rook. Yeah, this is what I was thinking at this point, because that's the next in our line after castles, of course. Oh wow, bringing both rooks over. So developing it, man. Develop it. Black's putting the heat on. Okay. Nice. Wow, black's in a bind. Takes, queen takes, takes. Okay. If knight takes, the bishop takes, so can't take. Bishop b2. Now the rook's in a problem. Bishop b1. Now we're going for bishop to b3. There we go. F. And let's see what to play here. Probably something to do with a4. And then if he takes here, it's there. Prominently that doesn't, so we can't. Okay, gotcha. Okay, that was an interesting game. Sorry about that. Sometimes I get into the zone and I gotta think about some of these moves because I'm like trying to figure out what works here, what doesn't work there, and like taking check, check. So he can't move there. He's got to move back, and by doing that, you actually have a sweet mate. That's a mate. You can win, and then play check. If he plays there, you always have this setup here. So probably best would be that now that I think about it, because now you're covering mate there. I don't know if there's any way to stop. Maybe something like this. There, and then you're moving. Then you check. So I don't know. That's kind of crazy. So I like our other ideas. You have to be very careful with your moves. So do you guys have any questions on this game? Fox, do you have any questions on the game? Well, before I log off, we can go over them. Do you guys have any questions? I'll give you a minute. Okay, perfect. Thank you guys for logging on. Remember what Spassky said is that you have to always be true to yourself with your play style. That's the whole thing. Be true to yourself. And if an opening doesn't work for you, try something else. Like inside the London system, there's a positional element, there's an attacking element. So whatever kind of setup works for you on the London, do it. And whatever setup for black works for you, do that. Remember that, because that's important. And like Bruce Lee says, because we know what style we are, we're going to apply the opening in our end game. And we got to be willing to sometimes learn another opening if this opening doesn't work for us, the opening you're working on right now. And you have to do it. And you have to remember that your rating is not what makes you. You have to remember what Fabi said, that you the next game is a brand new game. You gotta learn from the prior game, but keep moving forward. And remember, it's these constant grinds that, when you don't feel like you want to do study, you gotta continue onward. Don't miss a day. Because it's very important. Well, even if you do, try to think of a game. Try maybe to just visualize some of the openings that you priorly had in your mind. Try to play it out as far as you can and keep doing that so that you don't lose your the ground that you've sowed, or you've hoed to grow your crops of knowledge. Okay, I'll leave you guys with that. As Wesley So says, serve the Lord Jesus, and as I say, God bless. And I'll see you guys next time on Chess Cruncher TV. Have a blessed morning, afternoon, evening, and you know what? Lord willing, I'll be back on, and we'll do some more studies, puzzles, and games. And if you guys got games, bring them. We'll go over them, and we'll learn. So keep doing good. And you know what? Be blessed, guys, and I'll see you tomorrow. Bye-bye. Stay cool.